Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast. It's Wednesday, so that means it's time for our NSO Game of the Week. Now, we've had 2 weeks with this one. And by this one, I mean Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden. And I gotta say, I had a really good time with this one. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody, it is Prime Week and Elgato's having some crazy sales, including $100 off their prompter, which I'm looking into right now. And it is one of the most used tools in my setup, honestly. And $100 off, you get it for $190 right now. It is a fantastic piece of equipment if you need to read scripts or you want to be looking directly in the camera in your Zoom meetings, that kind of stuff. n64josh.com/Amazon, and then just search up Elgato. You will find all of their Prime deals. They've only got a couple more days on this, so make sure you don't miss out. Now, I'm getting my notes opened up here for Ninja Gaiden. I'm so excited to chat about this with you guys. There is so much here, and I had such a good time with this game. Like, it kind of surprised me. It really did surprise me. I've played this game plenty of times as a kid. What got me kind of hit me in the nostalgia feels a little bit was going and rewatching, and I'm actually going to pick it up on my Switch because it's available, but the Ninja Gaiden arcade game. And well, we're going to find out, this is not a port. This is not a port of that game. So I see Nady Nay is here. What's going on, my friend? Welcome. So let's jump into this here. I'm going to get my notes in the right place, and we're gonna jump into to Ninja Gaiden here. I'm like I said, really excited about this one. I'm just really loving this Game of the Week stuff. I hope you guys are loving it as much as I am. I literally pulled my NES controllers off the charger, and you're seeing my footage right now. I made it up to the 4th level in this game, and it doesn't mess around. Like, it does not mess around. But I kind of want to check it off the bucket list for being one that I've completed, because it's known for being so difficult, and I love difficult games. Nady Nay says, "Is this the messenger?" Sunshine says, "Game of the Week is a great idea." Cool. I'm glad you guys are liking it. I really am. And I just want to see more, like, more people get involved and like jump in and try some of these older games. There's a lot of fun to be had. So I literally take like 30 minutes. Maybe I actually went back to this game because I was having such a good time with it and ended up playing it more. And sometimes it's going to be the case. Other times, maybe not so much. So Cryptic says, "This was easier than Shinobi as far as me beating levels, but does ramp up in difficulty quickly. Did you finish it? And has anybody in chat finished this game? Let me know. I'm very curious." The last section is pretty crazy from what I've been researching, and so again, I'm trying to play these games with like out using rewind and that kind of stuff, because I want to experience it how we did in the 80s, right? We're playing it like the 80s. Nady Nay says, "Never finished but close." Okay. All right. Well, I think this is one for me that I'm gonna keep putting the time in, because I want to see if I can pull this one off or not. But let's get into it. Ninja Gaiden, released 1988 in Japan, 1989 in North America. Let's see. It is here we go. I was on the wrong section of my notes. So, this week's NSO Game Spotlight, one of the most intense, most iconic, and most rage-inducing games on the NES, Ninja Gaiden. And let me know, guys, did this induce rage for you? Okay, Cryptic was close but didn't finish also. Okay. Released in Japan, like I said, 1988, North America, 1989. Ninja Gaiden on the NES wasn't just a simple port of the arcade version. It was a completely reimagined action platformer with fast paced sword combat, wall jumping mechanics, and cinematic storytelling that was way ahead of its time. You play as Ryu Hayabusa, a ninja on a quest to uncover the truth behind his father's disappearance. And what unfolds is a globe-trotting, demon-slaying, government conspiracy uh, fueled revenge tale. It's wild, it's hard, and it changed NES action games forever. Development and release. Ninja Gaiden was developed and published by Temco and directed by Hideo Yoshizawa, and who wanted to create a home console experience that was nothing like the beat 'em up arcade original. In the arcade, Ninja Gaiden was a side-scrolling brawler. Think Final Fight or Double Dragon. But for the NES, the team built a tight, fast action platformer with a unique focus on story. The real breakthrough, these iconic cinematic cutscenes, fully animated sequences that push the NES to its limits. These were inspired by anime and 80s action movies, and they gave the game a serious tone that was rare for the time. It was marketed in the US with phrases like, the first game to truly play like a movie, and for once, the hype actually matched the experience. Gameplay details. You control Ryu Hayabusa. Armed with a katana and ninja arts, the levels are side-scrolling gauntlets packed with enemies, pits, and traps. Also, football players? I don't know. That's what one of the enemies looks like to me as a football player. What made Ninja Gaiden unique wasn't just the swordplay; it was the rhythm. Attacks are fast, movement is sharp, wall jumps, enemy placement, power-ups. They all required precision, and the game never gave you a break. You can collect sub-weapons like fire wheels and ninja stars, but they required spirit points. So resource management added another layer of challenge. And just when you got used to a level, it threw a boss at you that felt like it came straight out of a horror movie. Some of these designs were brutal. We're talking giant monsters, demonic tech hybrids, and of course, the final boss will ruin your weekend. Reception and legacy. Ninja Gaiden was critically acclaimed at launch. Magazines like Nintendo Power praised its visuals, its challenging gameplay, and those now legendary cutscenes. It's remembered today as one of the first NES games to tell a serious, emotional story. The revenge narrative, the tragic twist involving Ryu's father, the betrayal, the sacrifice, it set a new bar for video game storytelling. The game spawned multiple sequels and helped cement Ryu Hayabusa as one of gaming's most iconic ninjas. And even decades later, it shows up on the hardest NES games of all time lists. So fun facts. Okay, let's break down some fast and deadly fun facts about Ninja Gaiden. And I'm talking a full kunai throwing knowledge bombs. You guys ready? You ready? Ninja Gaiden was one of the first games to feature cinematic cutscenes. These weren't just little text boxes. They were fully animated with close-ups, crossfades, dramatic music. Temco even called it Tecmo Theater. And it helped inspire later games like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy to take storytelling seriously. The NES version was nothing in common with the arcade version. The arcade game was like Double Dragon style brawler. The NES version, a complete overhaul. Devs wanted to make something original for the home consoles, and the result was so successful, it became the real Ninja Gaiden in fans' eyes. What was crazy for me is when I went and looked at the gameplay footage of the arcade game, and I realized it was a game I loved. I put so much time, so many quarters into that machine. I loved it. I think it was one of those scenarios for me where I liked the arcade game so much, but then when I played this one, I'm like, this is just hard and not the arcade game. So I don't think it resonated with me as much as it does now. Now I can completely appreciate everything about it. And besides just the 3 games in this series, Batman from the 1989 movie was essentially a clone of this. So if you really liked this genre and the way this game played, Batman is definitely one to check out. Now, unfortunately, it's not on NSO because I'm sure licensing would be an absolute nightmare, but it is another one that like I spent a lot of time with that and loved the different power-ups and the way it played. The more I got into Ninja Gaiden, the more I was like, yo, this is so much like Batman. It's crazy. Brian says 89, the real Batman. Yes. Back to the fun facts here. The final boss isn't just hard. It's a 3-phase nightmare. If you die in the final phase, the game sends you all the way back to 6-1, not the boss room, the entire final act. For many players, this was the moment where Nintendo Hard became a badge of honor or a moment of heartbreak. The Japanese version had unlimited continues, but for the US, you only got 5 because publishers thought American kids didn't like games that were too easy. Thanks, Tecmo. I wondered, I hadn't hit all my continues yet, so I was like, is this unlimited? So that means I'm probably getting close and I'm going to have to start over, which is interesting. Ryu Hayabusa's legacy lives on in 3D. After the NES trilogy, Ryu returned in Ninja Gaiden for Xbox in 2004, a brutally difficult 3D reboot made by Team Ninja. Same intensity, same vibe, just in HD. Side note on this one, you guys have probably heard me mention it, but I literally would go to bed saying I'm trading this game in tomorrow, and would go to bed angry and then wake up and knock out another boss or get a little further until I finally got all the way through that game. They then re-released it as Ninja Gaiden Black or Ninja Gaiden Black, and that had Ninja Dog mode. So if you were getting beat up too much, you could put it into an easier difficulty. So Nate says, I already see the problem with your gameplay. Here we go. I'm gonna hear about it. It did improve. It did improve over time. Speedrunners love this game, and it's brutal. Top runners can beat this game in under 12 minutes, but one mistake, weird enemy spawn, and your entire run is toast. The RNG in enemy behavior makes consistency a serious challenge. So, a few things I want to hit on. For those of you that grew up with the NES, you will probably agree with the statement that we played these games, like the games were fun, but the cutscenes were kind of like a very special treat, if you will. And this game was obviously loaded with them. And it, like, the more I played it, the more I was getting that nostalgia for that, like, yo, I want to see what the next cutscene's going to be. And then all of a sudden you get to a cutscene and there's like a plane and Hayabusa's parachuting in, and I'm like, this is honestly incredible. Like, if I had gotten this far into this game as a kid, I would have loved it. I can't remember what happens at the end of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, right? But I know, just like even seeing those congratulations screens or whatever they were, like that was really the carrot on the stick, at least for me. Maybe it was a bit different for everybody else, but for me, those cutscenes were like, even though you had to use in some cases, you still had to use your imagination. And really, when you watch and pay attention to this storyline in this game, it's kind of corny, right? But I mean, they were doing all they could with what they had. It's just funny that, like, you know, that ninja just ran in, stole the item right in front of you, and you're like, what? Like, you've literally just taken out all these guys, all these flying birds, bats, everything, and this ninja just runs in and steals this from you, and you do nothing. You just sit there. And then earlier, like after the first stage, you get shot, and then it's back to life as, you know, back to life in the ninja mode, just swiping everybody with your sword, hitting everybody with your sword, throwing your ninja stars, everything. And it's like, well, wait, wasn't I just shot? Like, that's kind of crazy, you know? So, you know, a bit corny, if you will, but like for what they were doing, and albeit a bit corny now, probably a lot because of the time, right? Like looking at this game in 2025 versus looking at it in the 80s, I don't think we probably wouldn't have like we probably wouldn't bat an eye at the storyline and just been like, yo, this is crazy. Because if you were a kid like me in the 80s, you went from playing the Atari and games like Pitfall and Space Invaders to then having these cutscenes, and that it was honestly mind blowing in the at that time. I have no doubt. And so it was cool for me to kind of experience some of these things for the first time. Like I played this game on the NES, but I remember just thinking like, yo, this game's so hard. Like so hard. Who is having a good time with this? It is not not for the faint of heart. Now I kind of love it, and I want to I'm hoping they put out I think this is the only one on NSO, but I kind of hope they put the other ones on there as well. And I want to say I have at least the first game in my collection. So Nadine A says the worst thing you can do is stop. The worst thing in Ninja Gaiden is stopping. So good to know. So Cryptic says, I don't think it was rage inducing, but it had NES Castlevania platforming, where you had to dodge enemies off screen and flying enemies at the same time. Yes. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. And in some cases, I found myself like, basically, I would try to jump in such a way that knowing I was going to hit the enemy, that it wouldn't send me over the edge, but send me back onto at least the ground. But that wasn't always easy to do. Like there are a few different things in this game that made it very, very difficult. And you really have to be paying attention. I mean, I'm watching the gameplay right now, and it was in this section that I was like, okay, what am I gonna do here with this? And I think it's the second jump coming up, or it's a little further in, but it was like, this guy is walking where I need to land, and I also can't hit him. So, from my understanding, like there's a move where you flip and your swords come out, and I think it's kind of the thing that you're supposed to try to hang on to. Now it uses your they call it spirit magic or Nimpo or whatever, right? Ninja power, I think is what it's short for. But from my understanding, that's like the weapon that you want to keep with you. And I totally get it, because you basically can hit anybody that you're going to be jumping onto. Now, the thing, I guess what you can do with that, if you want to try to keep it long term, if you hold down on the D-pad after you jump, you won't do the move. And so you can save it. So I think Ryukar, I think is the guy's name. He's like a Mario Maker streamer. He loves doing different Mario game challenges and stuff. I found a video of his, and he was talking about, I was just trying to find footage of the arcade game, and then I saw he had a video about it, so I put it on for a little bit. And that was one of the things he mentioned, is like, if you want to be able to really give yourself a chance with this game, use that flipping sword slash or whatever, and that will help your chances, So Joey trying to get me to read these comments on the stream. Well played. You and Nate always getting Brian too, always giving me a run for my money. No question there. So, well, I want to get back to Cryptic's comment. My mouse literally died while mid stream here, so I couldn't put his comment on stream, but I want to get it. I want to get it on the screen here. So, since I don't think it was rage inducing, had Castlevania platforming where you had to dodge enemies off screen, flying enemies at the same time, had to learn the pattern. Yes, and the last part of that, having to learn that pattern, and not only the pattern, but in some cases, I found that was like, I could do like a like run, and then as I was jumping upwards, I could slash, and that would allow me to get onto a platform that had an enemy on it as well. And so they like they put some effort into the just had almost how obnoxious some of the enemy placements were and whatnot. Like they didn't want you beating this necessarily in a weekend. You know, they wanted you coming back and spending some time with it. And I mean, I get it, but like this is one of those, like, you rent this one on a Saturday and you're like, oh, this is so hard. I better hunker down. Here we go. Yeah, I'm not reading Nate's comment. No way. So, but I think after playing this one, and I just saw that jump on screen, by the way, where it was like you have to like kind of time it perfect, otherwise you're bouncing off the guy and falling to your death, because there's lots of pits in this game. But I mean, after completing the Xbox Ninja Gaiden, I want to I really want to do the same with this one. So I will be going back to it. It was fantastic picking up the NES controller and playing it with the old school D-pad and the just the A and B buttons. Like I literally had to go and get this charger just so that I could continue using those controllers. And it's very nostalgic. I love when I pick up the Super Nintendo controller. I love all those classic controllers, and having that as an option, it just it just adds a level of fun and taking me back. And I think that's somewhat of the main reason for doing this series, is just getting to, in some cases, experience games for the first time, but they were games that were definitely in an era where it we don't have that anymore. And getting to play some of these incredibly difficult games, maybe games that like we just couldn't afford, maybe they weren't ever available to rent, whatever the case may be, and getting to go back and appreciating them in a way that like I never had before. And that's something that I'm personally just really enjoying, because again, it's not this was a game that like I played a little bit, I loved it in the arcade, but I'm like, this is really hard. Like, 1989, I would have been 8 years old. I'm used to like Mario, right? Mario 2. And then all of a sudden this game is just like, oh hey, we're gonna like put you through the ringer. And then no multiplayer. A lot of the stuff I did too was multiplayer as often as I could. So if this was at like a friend's house or something like that, we weren't spending too much time on it. And I want to say that may have been the case too, where it was like we would turn it on. I'd be like, "You've got Ninja Gaiden," and they're like, "Nah, it's too hard. Like you won't like it." So going back and appreciating some of it now, and just the pixel art and all that kind of stuff. It's we're in an era now where it's like I just played Tony Hawk 3 and 4 on my Switch 2, and I'm like, oh, these textures look a little soft, and the frame rate's dipping just a little bit. Back then, like I was just watching the gameplay of this, and like the ninja completely vanishes off the screen, because if there had been another enemy on the screen, the game would have like slowed down so much, so they have to use these different tricks in order to make the game even run. And now we talk about like 4K and 120 and all this kind of stuff. It's just such a different time, and getting to just go back and it takes you back to a simpler time. And I love that. So I'm glad Sunshine is babysitting the chat for me right now, keeping everybody behaving. Nate said he's coming back to the conversation. But like, do you guys have any fun stories with this game? Any memories of like, playing it with friends or family, or getting really far in the game? Like I was on a I don't know if it was a Reddit post, or no, it was just YouTube comments. And one guy was like, "Yo, I remember jumping up in I was playing this game in my room. I beat the boss, and I like screamed in excitement. My mom came running in, and then I was like, I just beat effing Ninja Gaiden, like, and you know, ended up getting grounded, but they were so stoked they didn't even care because they had just completed this insanely difficult game. So I think my regret with this is not spending more, because I say that it was hard. I know I didn't own it. And so I don't even know that I like again, it's just one of those things. I remember playing it, but not having a ton of time with it. So I can remember like playing games like the first Ninja Turtles game. It's not easy. Like, it's not easy at all. And I made it all the way to the Technodrome, which I think was just a few more levels until you end up beating it. You know, and people talk about the dam level in that game, like having to swim and disarm all the bombs and everything. Like that was no joke. That was no joke at all. But like, because I owned it, I put all the time I had into it. So, taking a peek at the chat here. I love this. Nate says, the biggest thing with Ninja Gaiden is that it's almost like cheap shots. Oh yeah, there we go. Nate says, my dad rented this game and said I have to beat this game to get a new one. Nowadays, that would be CPS worthy. Yo, I love it. I love that that's what he said you have to beat. He must have known too, right? He must have known. Joey says, I was playing it last night. I was having fun, but the controls seemed a little dated. So, Joey, I want to add a little bit of clarity or see if I can get some clarity from you on this. I'm kind of guessing you're talking about the wall jumping, because the wall jumping was one of those things that was like, why am I stuck to this wall? And then I have to like, why do I have to just, I can only jump. And then you finally get to a spot where there's like, oh, there's actually ladders here, you know, and I can climb. Because that was the only thing about this game that felt a bit clunky to me, was the and I don't even know if clunky is the right term, but that I always it never sat well with me. It just felt like a strange design choice, was the just clinging to the wall, right? And then trying to, like, you could kind of inch your way up if you did it just right. And there we go. Yeah. So Joey said, yes, the wall jumping was odd. And then to figure out how to use the ninja stars. Yeah. Having to press up on the D-pad, definitely, you know, a bit counterintuitive, but with the lack of buttons, I totally understand why they did it. And they got it to work. They got it to work. Like, playing this game now compared to when I played it when I was younger, this game to me does feel like a masterpiece on the NES. Like right up there with Mario 3 and, you know, Mario 2, Super Mario Brothers. Like, it has that. I mean, it was 89, right? So the system had been out for 4 years when it finally released. And so it was like the sprites are decent sized, but they're not too big, and they're not as like super detailed as Mario 3, but still look really good. So, and Nate says, for example, he did it with Mario 1, and I tried explaining to him how hard it was, and I asked him for help, and he couldn't get past the first Goomba. Oh, that is amazing. Love that. Nate says, how about the music though? Man, the fast-paced music is so memorable. Yes. Literally, I forgot to put it in my notes. It's phenomenal. Like, the music is so good. It just fit. Everything just fit, right? There's the cinematics, the fast-paced gameplay, I mean, ninjas were huge in the 80s, right? The 80s storyline that we got to experience, like, it's kind of a complete package. Again, when you look at it in 2025, it's kind of like, okay, like it can come off a little bit corny. I get it, but when you look at it from the 80s, this was like, it was kind of like, this is peak cinema right here. You know what I mean? Like it and the music, you throw that into the mix as well, and it really just was a complete package. And I like I honestly anticipated the game being harder, because I remember like getting to that first boss infrequently the few times I played it, and then was like, yo, this is this game's impossible. And then this time, just kind of like, I slowed down a bit and just made sure that I was like more precise, and it didn't seem quite as difficult. But I'm watching the gameplay now and thinking about what Nate said, how you can't stop. You just can't stop. You got to keep going, and totally understandable. So I did find the one arm. I know it's an army guy, but it looks like a football player. That's like the fullback is just running, running at you, and that I kind of had a bit of a laugh at. So taking a peek, Cryptic says definitely feels better than trying to understand how Shinobi worked. Didn't even know about the magic until I watched your video. Right? Like, yeah. It you're going back to 1989. You got essentially the two buttons up on the D-pad. Like, I don't know. I just playing this game now, it just feels like it was just such a joy. And I just wish I had spent more time with it as a kid. That's really where I'm at. Like, I am excited by the fact that we get to appreciate something like this now, and that it's at our fingertips. Because that wasn't always the case either. Like, we had to, buy it on a virtual console, or have a physical copy of the game, or whatever your way of playing was. But like, to just be able to jump in and go, yeah, this was something special. Nady Nay says, just when I thought you were a gamer, Cryptic. Shame. Well, that is going to do it for this week's Game of the Week, NSO Game of the Week. For next week, we're going to do a bit of a longer game, okay? But it's going to be a bit more familiar to most. Well, it can be a longer game depending on how good you are. But I just watched Tetris on Apple TV, and while I was on vacation, watched it again. It's a very fun movie. If you have Apple TV, I highly recommend it. And so I'm thinking Game Boy Tetris. So if you've never played, I'm excited to hear your thoughts. If it's a game you're familiar with, get ready to share your high scores. Okay, see what level we can get to, high scores, that kind of thing. The music, it's very, very nostalgic. I would love to try to, before we hit next week, jump into Discord and do some multiplayer, and jump into voice chat and play some matches against each other. That would be very fun. Like, it's basically like pulling out the link cable, so being in voice chat, simulating couch multiplayer. Or if we're on Switch too, we can just use the chat feature. But no, it might be fun to like record some of the conversation while we play Tetris together. And the cool thing is, like, if you guys play, if people play against me, I can share that screen, record that footage. It should show both. I haven't done it with Game Boy yet, but it should show both screens. I think I may be mistaken. We'll just have to see. But to maybe record a bit of conversation while we are playing. So Tetris is only 2-player on at least on the Game Boy. So yeah, just 2-player. The link cable just went between two. But Yeah, so let's tentatively plan on that. I'll probably shoot for sometime on the weekend. It'll probably be earlier afternoon that we'll jump in. I'll let everybody know in the Discord when we are going to do that. And our game for next week is Tetris, and it's going to be fun jumping in, doing a little history. I am doing like a 8 to 10 minute video with the history of these games, so that you guys can get familiar with some of the development and that kind of stuff. So thanks again for hanging out. Appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one. Remember, play it loud.